Wide receiver is one of the toughest positions to peg off the waiver wire, mainly because it's based off workload, targets, and air yards. And once you're an established alpha, that automatically comes to you. And when an injury happens, there's usually not a next man up. However, there are times during the season where you can peg workload on a player, where you can use them in certain spots, especially in plus matchups. A wide receiver I want to talk about today, I already talked about him last week, but new information coming out wants us to talk about him again, and that's Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver for the New York Giants. In a productive week last week, catching 6 balls for 50 yards against Jacksonville. This is off of 8 targets and a 27.5% target share. 30% is around the elite range here, so that's a good sign. They are targeting him heavy, and he hasn't been in the lineup for that long. He's wide receiver 35 for week 7, so decent PPR production for a rookie wide receiver who came back middle of the year. And when we look at the last 2 games he's played in, 22.2% target share, 58% route participation rate, just 60 air yards though, 16.6% share of the team's passing air yards. So what this tells me is he's getting a large volume of targets, but he's not getting the targets downfield, which makes sense because he's a shorter wide receiver, but he does have some speed to get you some yards after the catch. He does have some speed to get downfield, but they want to use him in those short to intermediate areas of the field so they can just get him the ball quickly and try to get him some yak. And plus they have other guys that they can use for the downfield purposes. The fact that he's getting a lot of targets though indicates that he could give us some production. What we saw last week, 6 balls for 50 yards, not the sexiest thing, not the sexiest amount of production, but we're talking about wide receivers off the waiver wire here. You need a patch up guy. That's probably the stat line you're looking at most of the time from here. You're looking at 11, 12 fantasy points per game, and that makes sense. You're not going to be sad over double digits. You're probably not going to get top-tier production. He's probably not going to give you many wide receiver 1 weeks, but he's going to give you enough to keep you afloat, and if that's something you need and you're hurting, Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy to look at right now, and he's a guy that is not going to be on waiver wires much longer because everyone's shooting their shot on him in this waiver wire period. You probably should have got him last time just to be a little early, but now you're going to have to fight for him on the waiver wire. Last year at Kentucky, he averaged 3.56 yards per route run, 10.4 average depth to target, had a 105.7 QB rating when targeted, 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns in the SEC. He has second-round draft capital, which is solid. Ran a 4.40, 26th percentile size-adjusted speed score because he's 5'8", 179 pounds. And when you look at this profile from when he was coming out for the draft, this indicates a player that's more than likely not going to bust on you, that's not going to flatline, but more than likely, when you look at the athleticism, the size, combined with the breakout age, combined with the production, a guy that's probably not going to turn into the next top-tier wide receiver 1, the next Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, but only like 1%, or the 1% of the 1% of wide receivers are like that anyways. But you have a wide receiver here that's damn good, more than likely not going to flatline or bust on you, but he's going to give you production. Wide receiver 35, 25, 40 range-ish, somewhere around there in those results, probably average on a weekly if he's lining up, getting snaps is a good thing to see out of him. And this is the type of wide receiver that you're going to get off waivers. He looks like he's going to be consistent. He's going to be targeted pretty heavy in this offense. This team's winning games, and he's going to be in situations where they're going to need to use him. So he's a guy you're going to want to pick up off waivers, especially if you need to patch up that wide receiver spot. Also, too, when I look at upside, there could be a game or two where he hits the end zone. Maybe you get a long run here and there. So there is some upside, but we're not talking nuclear upside. We're talking about a guy that's probably going to be consistent for you, patch up the hole in the wall, and keep you moving. Wan'Dale Robinson, though, good guy to get off waivers. Let me know in the comments what you think below. Smash that like button on the way out. Helps the video and the algorithm. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I'm only going to help you out going forward with waiver wire content, trade content, and everything else in between. I want to thank you again for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.